Welcome back to another episode of Bearing It All with Rose and Crystal. Today's episode is super, super juicy.
Yes, it is. So for far too long, we, especially as women and vagina owners, have not really been fully educated on our own bodies, especially around sexual wellness and pleasure. It is often met with shame or taboo surrounding something that is so important and very normal. And you know what? It's bloody necessary. So with that said, today we are welcoming Rosie Rees to the podcast. Rosie is a sex toy entrepreneur, a modern day nudist, relationship and sexuality coach, and body image activist. She started the movement Stop Sucking It In, which we both absolutely love, mind you.
I did a post quite a few years ago about Stop Sucking It In.
Love it. But it doesn't stop there. Rosie is also the founder of Yoni Pleasure Palace, Splash Blanket, the Yoni Golden Membership, and the creator of Naked Awakening Women's Nude Yoga Workshop. This and more, we are so excited to have her on today and talk more about our bodies, our sexual health, and our yonis.
And some toys, perhaps.
And maybe learn a little bit about some squirting.
Let's get to it. So we want to welcome Rosie Rees to our podcast.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
This has been like a few weeks coming. We'd been trying to organise dates and just to get you in here, and so much stuff has been happening, and Rose has been feeling a lot of feels around today.
I do.
She'll have to deep dive into that.
We both are.
Yes. But we obviously want to start with all of the things that Rosie has done, which is like, wow, mind-blowing. She's definitely a boss babe.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. I am now. I wasn't always.
Yeah.
But I've definitely been on this boss journey for the past 10 years or so. Started in 2014 and, yeah, basically a little jade egg workshop in Bali just blew up my life, and, yeah, that's the rest is history.
It's pretty exciting.
What were you before all of this? What were you before you were the Yoni Queen?
That is such a good question. Oh, my God, what the fuck was I? I was a finance recruiter.
Get
I
out
don't even
of
see
here.
that.
Stop.
Finance recruiter.
Yeah, you would never
Never.
pick it. And before that,
I'm mind
I
blown.
was a waitress.
Okay.
I see the waitress.
Yeah, and a promo girl. I was a Heineken girl for a while there.
Yeah, I can imagine that. But
yeah.
then a finance recruiter to what I would call the Yoni confidence queen. If there's a body confidence queen, this is the Yoni confidence queen sitting beside me, and I'm so excited. I really am, because bodies, our health, women's health, people that own a vagina, I feel passionate about, because I didn't grow up in a household or even in an era where we learn a lot about our bodies. So, and I think, like, I'm 39. I've just turned 39. So if that gives you an idea, I'm an older millennial. But we're like, health ed was condom on a banana. Our organs, female reproductive system meant that we were, you know, this is how you make a baby. Mm-hmm. It was all about reproduction. And then they spoke about male masturbation, but not so much female
Wow, you got more than me. I didn't even get the banana and the condom.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't even know, like, my dear old mum didn't even tell me about getting a period. I mean, I knew there were pads in the bathroom, but we never had the chat.
The period chat.
No, there was no talk in I call it a silent sex education.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I didn't have any school education or parental sex education.
Did you go to a Catholic school then?
I did.
Okay, so
Well,
I went to a public.
Yeah, it was Presbyterian, Lutheran and Catholic. So just,
How about you, Chris?
I went to a public, but family pretty much the same. Like, never had the sex chat, besides my dad once or twice talking about a blow-up doll as a joke in front of my Mormon friend.
Oh, wow.
Love that.
That's another story.
For them and you.
But never had the sex chat. I don't remember if we had a period chat. I think my friends told me about, because I got my period 1 week before my 18th birthday.
Oh, so late.
Yeah. So we thought that something was wrong with me. But I had all the checks done and they were like,
Yep.
no, she's a late bloomer. I got called surfboard the whole way through high school. I had no boobs. Now I've got lots of boobs. But never had those chats. And I remember my friends at like a 13th birthday sleepover being like, have you got your period? And me being like, what? I don't have my period. And they all had their period. So I think I learned from them.
That's exactly how I felt. So our household, I have an Italian family. So my mum really didn't know anything. She had the silent sex ed from her mum. And then period, she tried to have a chat about periods with me, and I was literally the meanest teen on earth. And I was like, get out of my room. I know I did health. Don't talk to me, because it was that awkward.
It's too late. If you're having the chat, and I always say this to clients, like if you're telling your kids about it at 12, 13, it's too late.
It's too late.
Yeah.
You need to be, I guess, exposing them to your period from the age they are born, really.
Well, my
it's
daughter's
no
9
shame.
and we've had the full period chat, and I even ask her, like, she's already started to spot, and like she already knew like way before.
And it didn't scare her.
No.
Exactly.
I was so scared when I was 13 and it was athletics day, and
Of course it was.
it
Worst
was
time.
that
Yep.
brownie blood.
Yes.
And I thought I'd shit myself. I was like, the fuck is this? And then
Yeah.
but even into the afternoon, into the night, and I had a shower and it was still there, but it was coming out, and it only just dawned on me.
It was your
This
period.
is my period.
Yeah.
Oh, it was such a shock.
And we didn't have Google.
No.
So that's the thing, that when I'm talking about older millennials or like our age group, it's because you couldn't just Google it. Like now, I think even if you're not educated by your parents or you don't 100% know, kids, teens, adults, we can Google this stuff. I mean, it's not always the best avenue, but at least the information's there. And it's also why it's so important and why we wanted to get you on, because we just don't know, even as adults, there's so many women that actually you've probably experienced it a lot with what you do, but even myself and Crystal, they don't know about their bodies or about sex or even how to self-pleasure. Some haven't even ever self-pleasured.
Yeah.
This is why I'm so passionate about adult sex education. Like it's not too late to learn all this stuff in your 20s and 30s and 40s. Or even like I've had women come to workshops of mine 50 plus who've just discovered their clitoris. It's like it's never too late.
Wow.
But it's because we're not taught as young
Yeah.
kids, and hopefully that's all changing now. But really it's down to the parents, because you can't rely on our school systems to be giving adequate sex education. And so I'm passionate about educating mums and dads and parents about, you know, the ins and outs of self-pleasure and consent and boundaries and, you know, what to do in those circumstances so as not to pass any shame on to your kids and empower them.
Yeah. I feel like for me, having a boy, like even though he's 13 and he gets super awkward with me having these conversations, but I have definitely talked a lot about consent with him lately, because I'm not saying that girls do this, but I don't want him to ever have sex with somebody and then be like, hey, I didn't say yes to that.
Yep.
So I was like, you know, when you are ready to have sex, you need to make sure that you're asking, is this okay? You don't need their signature on a piece of paper, but you need to make sure that they're consenting to it, because the last thing you
Enthusiastic
want to do is have them turn around and be like, well, actually, I didn't say yes to that. So even though he gets awkward, I'm having those conversations already with him, because my doctor has made me very aware that boys are having sex from the age of 11.
Oh, that's
wow.
young.
So young.
But this consent conversation as well, I don't even think adults understand it entirely. And this is why it's so important that we are starting to educate parents and our youth, but also we need to be educated on consent and to know that it's actually okay to be halfway through actually having sex, I think, even, and being like, you know what,
Pull the pin.
I'm not ready. I can't do this at the moment. That also, you don't have to continue with the act.
Marital rape's a thing.
Yes.
And I think just because we're in a relationship doesn't mean automatic consent all the time, consistently, forever.
Yeah.
Like there's been moments with Ash where I've been like, I don't consent to that touch, or like,
Yeah.
you know, it's important to be able to know what you want.
So communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think it would be massive in marriages, to be honest, because
Yeah.
how many times do men or women just expect that they are to have sex with their partner.
Yeah.
And
I have a lot to say on this topic.
See?
Oh.
And it's like that. I had this conversation with a friend 2 days ago, and she just said to me that like it's like a chore because they expect it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not their sex slave. So, and I was a bit like, whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. I was at a naked yoga recently, and the woman I was paired with in the vulnerability kind of section. Have you guys done nude yoga yet?
No.
Okay, well,
Yes.
that's your homework.
Okay.
So, and she mentioned, she wasn't in a good place with her husband, and that he would just roll her over in the middle of the night and just fuck her. And it's like, that is, I mean, there's a lot of unpacking there, but that's rape. And just because you're married doesn't mean that's okay.
Which he would think that wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she may have even been taught or learnt that, oh, you're married,
That's
your
just what
duty.
you give to your
Yes.
husband.
Yeah.
Is this really primarily a female thing that we've been taught that like they're like in regards to males especially, that it's almost like putting one person's pleasure over another?
Yeah, I think girls have grown up to think that they need to give pleasure to a boy or a man to please him, and that's their role of pleasure.
Yeah,
is just to give the pleasure to them. Actually, your pleasure has nothing to do with it. And it wasn't until I was like 26 and had my sexual awakening that I realized I was just giving my yoni, my pussy, to men on a platter for their pleasure, and I hardly ever got off.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's almost like no one sort of tells you that. It's just kind of sneakily in movies and porn and,
Society, it's
Yeah.
almost like we've been taught that it's not empowering in that sense. Like it's like putting somebody else's needs and pleasure before your own. And whereas I feel like it should be equal, there should be some sort of equality.
It's the epitome of people pleasing. It's just putting someone else's needs above your own, putting someone's yes above your no. And that's something I always tell people. It's like, make sure your yes is more important or your no is more important than somebody else's yes.
Oh, that is
Your
powerful.
no is more
That
important
should
than
be on a
somebody
bumper
else's
sticker.
yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would
make
drive
that happen.
behind that car and be like, yeah.
Yes.
Hell to the yeah.
And this is okay. So let's go into the yoni egg then, because this is how you, at 26, you had your sexual awakening.
I did.
And you were saying it was in Bali in 2014, and it pretty much changed your life.
Yeah. So before that, I was in Sydney. So I graduated from uni. I wanted to be a journalist. I graduated at the GFC. Like there was just literally no job. So I thought I'll just take off over to Europe, do the backpacking thing. And then after a few years and too many beers and, just a few addictions that I didn't need, I thought I got to get my shit together. So that's when I ended up in Sydney as a corporate recruiter. And I was really good at that job, and I ended up getting quite close to a co-worker who became my boss, and he was lovely at the time. And then quite soon into the relationship, he was toxic and just a narcissist, basically. A lot of emotional manipulation. I was just a shell of myself. I didn't have a voice. I had no...
Was that a romantic relationship?
It was, yeah. We were in a
Okay.
relationship for a year.
Yeah.
So, but it started as like co-worker, and then it kind of moved into a relationship. And then I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, Unleash the Power Within, and I just woke. It's like I literally woke up. I walked over the fucking hot coals. I came back. I dumped him. I needed police. Like it was.
Thank you, Tony.
Horrific. Literally, I have Tony to thank for so much. And quit my job. I went to India first. Became a yoga teacher. Had this full spiritual awakening. So I can kind of thank that awful time in my life in Sydney as a finance recruiter, in an awful job relationship, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have looked within and wanted to actually learn to love myself, because I was just broken. I was so broken. And then I ended up in Bali doing a second yoga teacher training and went to this jade egg workshop. And it was so out of my comfort zone at the time. I was like, this is so fucking woo-woo. What is all this about? But then we were all in this like semicircle out in the jungle doing like this feminine yoga, touching our bodies, chanting, sounding. And then we were wearing a big long skirt with no undies on so we could basically put this egg in our vagina.
Yeah.
And we got to that part, and I remember putting it in my vagina, and it was just like it's hard to explain. It was just this wave of healing, this like wave of reclamation. Like, this is your pussy. This is your part of your body. And it was the first time I'd ever engaged with my yoni in a way that wasn't needing to give pleasure to a man or get some kind of validation for myself from sex or an orgasm or something. It was like connecting to my pussy in a way that wasn't sexual, but it was loving and kind and gentle.
Which I don't think we do.
We don't.
We don't do that to our vaginas or our
No, but I'm
yoni.
also trying to picture this round circle of everyone putting eggs inside, and
Well,
I'm
we're all
like,
facing out.
oh, okay.
I was like, are we doing
I
it
was
in?
like-
Yeah. I was
We
like,
were facing out, semicircle, facing out. And I was like looking like, is everyone doing this? Oh my God. And then, popping it in.
because I remember putting my egg in for the first time, and I was like, I need to really like work out how it was going. And
I was squatting.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, I was squatting.
I was sitting in front of the mirror.
But I won't lie, I saw that it had little holes, and I was like, what are the little holes for? After I popped it in, I then went into instant freak out mode. This thing is stuck.
I feel like this is a rite of passage. So I get so many calls from like friends, like
Yeah.
people who've bought them, and I guide them to how to get it out because it's a one-way street. It's not, the cervix is
It
closed.
can't go into your stomach.
It's no, you
Cannot absorb
No.
the egg, guys.
But I mean, it can get, if you've got a long vagina, and vaginas range from like 6 centimeters to about 16 centimeters.
Wow.
So if
I
you've got
did
little
not know
fingers
that.
like me, like it's hard sometimes, like it can really sneak up. But if you relax, it's about relaxing because
Yes.
if you tense up, it's going to get worse.
I think a friend of ours went to hospital, didn't she?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh my
because it got
God.
stuck. And she went to the ED.
couldn't relax.
And she was like,
She just needs me on the phone and I would have guided it. So you just put your fingers in, you squat
yeah.
like you're going to do a bush wee. And then you just insert your fingers and scoop it down and out like
Well,
that.
that's how you would use it if you were freaking out like
Okay.
I was.
So
It's
Chris
got
just
the
use the
floss.
string.
Yeah.
If
Is this a tooth floss that you use?
It's unwaxed, unminted floss. So it's like an
okay.
eco.
You do not want mint on your vajig, all right, guys?
God, no.
Fuck me.
I think I used
tingly
tooth floss
floss.
once.
I've had such an experience with minted things.
No. pH levels.
Oh my God. Okay, there's this stuff. This is like going off a bit. I have this stuff called rocket fuel, which is like to
Ash
clear.
has that.
It's so good. But I had actually put a few drops on my tongue and then I put a tampon in. And I don't often use a tampon, but I'd wash, I just, it contains.
You didn't wash enough off your
enough.
fingers.
It's got peppermint oils, all these things. And mate, it was on
Blows your head off.
fire. Like my vagina was breathing. It was like this. It was like, I could breathe easy and my yoni could fresh. Fuck me.
I bet she could.
She was breathing for ages. I couldn't wash it off. Apparently someone said I had to get a neutralizing oil, like coconut oil. So I slathered it in some coconut butter. I think
Slather it.
I had coconut something. But yes, this egg that I'm holding of Rosie's has a string. So if you're starting out, you can actually have one with a string. Mine didn't have a string and mine definitely was up there for a while. And then I was like, oh my God, it's not coming out. And what was amazing about the egg is I had to relax. And it got me in tune with my body. Yeah. And I was like, relax. Like, and how my breath helps me. And it, like, by just controlling my breath, I started like, you never think about your breath. You think about yoga, you think about breath, and you think about your body relaxing. And I don't know why this is so weird. I never think about my vagina relaxing and my yoni and my vulva and everything in there. But the muscles in that was just like, ugh. And then it popped out. It just slid on out. I could feel it dropping. And I was like, oh my God, like it's so important. Like that's where I realized I made it into like this little practice in the morning when I was having my cup of coffee. I'd pop it in, and even Tato, my 4-year-old, like is obsessed with this egg. And we like, because I also have the, what do you call it? The little pelvic floor ones.
Oh yeah, the Kegels.
The Kegels. Yeah, because I've had 4 kids. So I just wanted to strengthen that a bit as well.
Yeah.
So we do coffee and Kegels.
Oh, I love
Or
that.
coffee and my yoni egg. And she's like, what's this egg? And she'll play with it. I'm like, put that egg down.
Because it's not just about tightening and toning.
Yeah.
It's actually about relaxing as
Relaxing.
well. Because when you do a Kegel, and you can do this with me, you can just like squeeze around the entrance of the vagina and then imagine like you're sucking it inwards and upwards, like you're hugging the egg inside you. If you imagine you had an
And
egg
I tried
inside
to
you.
do that just then.
And then you'd pull it up towards your cervix, and then you need to relax as
It's
well.
like doing a sit-up for me. I think I'm
It
really
is.
weak. Like that hurts, not hurts, but it's like my muscles are like,
When you have an egg in there, it gives it like something to hold on to. So
Yes.
it's like a weight resistance, and it does build pretty quickly. The muscles build and get more toned, and you can hold your wee for longer. People are probably like, why are you putting an egg in your pussy? For pelvic floor strength. That's
yes.
why we're doing it.
So
That's
do you
right.
find that the awareness through the egg is huge of like your body and your vagina?
Yeah, so when you have the egg in, you can't really feel it too much. I don't know if you've noticed that. You don't feel the egg in. Over time, I can feel it more and more, but it's more like afterwards. So you wear it for an hour or so, even if it's 5 minutes. You know, a lot of women say it falls out after 5 minutes, and that's really normal. Just wear your knickers at home. Otherwise, it'll crack onto the floor. And yeah, so it's about building that sensation, and it builds up lubrication, natural lubrication. It's helped me heal layers of sexual trauma as well. So I started squirting. After using the egg, I started having internal orgasms and squirting.
Maybe I need to use my egg again because I was like recently saying like she dry like the desert sometimes.
So it increases natural lubrication.
Because there's more blood flow. So you're wearing quite a heavy, I mean, this is about 80 grams.
Yep.
You're wearing an 80-gram weight resistance inside your pussy. The muscles, even though you can't really feel it, the muscles are working to hold that egg in generally when you're standing up. If you're sitting down, not so much. And if it does fall straight out, like just start with sitting or lying down or even sleeping. But when you stand up, it's working. And that's why you don't want to leave it in too long because you could fatigue the muscles. So I've accidentally left mine in for like a whole day.
Wow.
I've done it for hours. I was
Yeah,
like,
and then
oops.
you get this like pain because it's your muscles are tired.
It was
They're
achy,
like,
yeah.
enough. I'm cramping. I'm like fatigued.
I love this.
Won't
Okay.
lie, I get scared after 5 minutes.
Yeah, you need
I'm
the
like,
string.
you let it out.
You need string. You need
Yeah.
string. And then
Something
you
I'd
can do ages.
recommend for you, if you have that fear, because that's really common, is to put your fingers in you beforehand so you can feel how deep your vagina is and that you know, okay, it's not going to hide or get stuck or lodged
Disappear.
in there forever. Like feel where your cervix is.
Yeah.
Because then you know, like this, because so many girls don't feel comfortable to put their
I
fingers.
even know where my cervix
That's
is.
what I was just about to butt in, and I
Do
was
you
like,
know?
I do now.
Okay.
I mean, I had to. Like there was, I was scared. There was kids coming out, you know,
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that. But also, how many women don't know their parts? I know this is like really sounds really like basic
I think that's
education,
common.
but it is so. In all the polls that I've ever done, in all the questions, it's they know they have a vagina.
The
Can you-
inside. So the vagina is the inside passage or canal, whatever you want to
Yes.
call it, that leads to the cervix, which is like the neck of the uterus. So it's the uterus is inside beyond the cervix, and then you've got your fallopian tubes and ovaries. But the vulva's on the outside.
the vulva's
and I think that's where, you know, everyone just calls this whole thing a vagina. It's
I
kind of
do.
like calling your face a neck
Oh,
or a
You
throat.
should have brought your little vagina.
I know. Damn.
This is because like we're just starting at the basics because I feel like so much there's not enough knowledge or topics like places that you can go as an adult.
Well,
Just come
I
to
thought
Yoni
your
Pleasure
vulva
Yoni.
was your clitoris.
Yeah, so I need my vulva puppet, but like the vulva is the whole outside area of your vagina. So you've got the pubic mound,
Yes.
and then you've got the clitoris, which is the gland,
Yes.
and then the
most important part.
clitoral, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. So if I had the mold of the clitoris, it's actually got these two little legs and two bulbs that extend inside the vagina, and that makes up kind of like the urethral sponge or the G-spot. So you're kind of stimulating the clitoris from inside when you've got that come hither fingering motion going.
Yes.
So you've got the clitoral hood. Some people have a clitoral hood, other people don't. Then you've got the inner labia and then the outer labia, which is the fleshy mound on the
There
outside.
is so
the
many
lips.
working parts of these vaginas.
Okay, no wonder some partners and men have no fucking idea what they're doing when they go down there because if we don't understand it, how the heck are they going to?
Exactly. It just sit in front of the mirror and like literally pull it up and have a look at like how big your clitoris is, how small it is, because there's micro clits as well. I've got a really big clitoris and it's so just cool to know Like there's like 5 different
I
types.
checked
of
mine out
clitorises.
after birth. I was like, let's see the damage.
Yeah, but it would be quite engorged after
it
birth.
was, and it had stretch marks
It would.
on it.
Yeah,
I was
because
like, whoa, baby.
it stretches a lot,
been
mate.
through a bit.
I know, we don't give it enough credit, mate.
And then the urethra, this is stuff that you can show your daughters as well. It's like the urethra. So many people don't know that we don't pee from our vagina, we pee from the urethra, which is
Thank
just
you.
below the clitoris. And then you've got your Skene's glands on either side of the urethra, and that's kind of where the squirt can often come
This
from.
is what I was like, I need to know this. So,
Squirting,
squirting.
101.
When you squirt, one, is it urine?
No. Well,
There we go.
there's elements. There's
Okay.
urea particles.
Okay. Because
And-
I was like, are we weeing when we're squirting, or is it some other fluid?
It is coming from the bladder, but if you were to like empty your bladder before sex or stimulation and then squirt, there will be tiny particles of urea because it's coming from the same hole. But
Okay.
it's like this whole like prostatic fluid, PSA is in it. And so it's created whilst you're really aroused. It's just,
But it comes from the same place.
it does.
Okay.
There's squirting, which is kind of like when you gush and it's quite a lot of clear fluid. And then there's I know it's like in Tantra it's called amrita. It's like female ejaculate, which is quite creamy and like a milky fluid, and that comes from your Skene's glands. So it's all gets blended into one really, and it's just if you are really hydrated, if you feel really turned on, you feel really safe, and someone's basically you can have it with you can squirt with an orgasm or without an orgasm, internal penetration or not internal. Like I need internal penetration rubbing up against my G-spot to squirt. Other people just need some clitoral stimulation and they're going for it. Like it's
But are we
different.
talking squirting like, bzz, like a little bit? Or are we talking like, whew? Like what are we?
Well, there's gushing. There is
Okay.
gushing, but that's often glorified in porn.
Yeah.
To just, it's like the more the better, and like that's a lot of women drinking a lot of water and just performing.
Okay.
But that's happened to me spontaneously many times, you know, out of the blue. But there's like tiny, like even if it's just like a little spray, it's just when you're feeling really safe and
Because I
comfortable.
was like, I don't know that I ever have squirted. But maybe this is some homework.
It does
Maybe I
require
need to-
you to relax
Yeah.
and like
I
really
feel like I'm
open.
pretty relaxed, but I don't. You have though, haven't you? Yeah. The face.
What was the circumstance for you?
Well, you know what? Craig actually was like the one that was like, you know, like women can squirt. And it wasn't through porn. He actually was looking it up. And I was like, okay. I was like, because we were talking about male G-spots and female G-spots. And I think it's really important. He's come from a background that, like myself, sex doesn't get talked about. You have sex, you have kids, whatever, but we don't talk about that. It's a no-go topic. It's an uncomfortable situation in his family. You know, actually my family is quite a lot more open now. We just love fucking joking about it together and being dirty and ridiculous.
Especially them seeing your splash blanket promos.
Oh my God. My brothers have really, some of them have been there helping throw the water on me or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that has obviously been very, what's the
Embraced.
It's a lot for Craig's mum and dad. So Craig has been really amazing and open to learning about things and also like learning about the male G-spot. So I was like, he went and looked up the female G-spot and we had a play. We actually, it's a lot of communication to make it comfortable. And I was scared. I was like, it feels like I'm gonna wee.
Yeah.
And it does for me. Like at first, and so I would hold off. So I'd get there and I'd be like, I'm gonna pee all over you. And he's like, but he was really good. He was like, who cares?
Yeah.
He's like,
even if it is pee, like
I was
just
just-
if it feels good.
You got your splash blanket down.
I do actually took my splash blanket today, but it is 100%. No, it holds up to a litre of fluid, guys, and is fully machine washable.
She went there.
My ambassador sitting right
No
here.
joke. I have about 5, and it's my favourite thing, and they're so warm. Anyway, that's another thing. You can get one. I'll put it in the show notes. You will not regret this. I am telling you now.
Well, I often say, you know, your mind is your biggest sex organ, and these blankets are a psychological sex toy. Like when you have it underneath you, you are more willing to release and let go and make a mess, because as kids, we're often unconsciously shamed by our parents for wetting the bed. It's just inconvenient. And like, so when we're adults and you're encouraged to literally you're like, let it go, there's this mental block.
Yes.
So having
And
that
also you don't want to dirty your bed.
And you don't want to be sleeping in a wet spot, which, honest to God, it is my biggest pet hate. When I go back to bed, I've had a good time, and I'm like, I'm always lying in the wet spot. It's always my side. And I sometimes
so strategic.
actually get raged about it. Like I'm like looking at him like it's his fault. It's
You're like,
our
switch
fault.
sides.
And I was like, why is it always my fault? Like, I was like, whatever. But yes, I think there was an element of having to relax, having my partner be very okay with it. I was just like, get your face away from it. Like, because I was really paranoid.
So maybe you need their face more up near your face, kissing you or sucking on your nipples or something. Like sometimes you don't want to do it in their face, and that will shut you down from doing it.
There is definitely a comfort level, I think, as well. But I think there's also an element to understanding your own body. I didn't try this with Craig personally until I had experienced and experimented with myself more, which took a lot of relaxation, like ditching shame around female masturbation and actually understanding my own parts. So how often do you get that people, like what we were just talking about, understanding all the different parts of our bodies, what is our clit, where's our clit, where are we peeing from, how many holes do we have, like is that really essential? How essential is it really to good sex, and how important is self-pleasure?
Oh my gosh. Well, self-pleasure, for me, I discovered it when I was 19. I just ended a relationship with a boyfriend. He was the only one who could make me orgasm. And so I actually probably hung on to that relationship a bit longer than I probably should have, because I thought he held the key.
Yeah.
But then I went to a sex shop and I bought a vibrator, and that's when my relationship with sex toys began. And I'm always grateful for vibrators for that, because vibrators helped me discover my clit and how to make myself climax. But then I kind of desensitized myself. And that's just because of my genital anatomy. There are people, and I explain this a lot on my Instagram, like you can use vibrators, and if you can use it 3 times a day and still not be desensitized the next day, good for you. That's not my body type. If I use it once, I get pretty, like it's hard for me to have an orgasm the next day or even for a week or so.
Yeah.
So when I discovered the jade egg, I had a big message to my body, a few things actually, to go off the pill, which I did. It told me to stop using my vibrator and just go within. I had this message like, stop focusing so much on your clit and actually like build this sensation using the egg inside my vagina and wake it up. And I did. I started like, I just actually masturbated with my egg. That's how it started. And then I was like, I just want a crystal dildo, damn it. And so that's when I started designing them and making different shapes and sizes and the sacred squirter, because I wanted to wake up inside my pussy. And now I always say my vagina is like a clitoris inside there. Like it's
I think that's what we want.
Yeah. Like, and I believe everyone can wake up their yoni. I think it requires a lot of self-healing. So like releasing layers of shame and guilt around like putting your fingers in your vagina. And it's not just like the vagina, the actual word vagina means sheath for a sword in Latin. And it's like your vagina is more than a birth canal and somewhere for a penis owner to put their penis. It is a wealth of pleasure sensation available to you in there. But you have to wake it up and you have to be willing to go in. And
I think that is very key. You've got to be willing to go in.
Literally. And it's, this is how I masturbate. I don't even call it masturbation anymore. It's like just self-pleasure.
Yep.
So making that little distinction, for me, masturbation is popping a vibrator on my clit and just buzzing away for 30 seconds. That's like getting something done. No shame in that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want a quick tension release and that's okay. But if I want to self-pleasure, I'll put a splash blanket down. I'll sit in front of my mirror. I'll massage my breasts. I'll breathe. I'll put some music on, light a candle, set an intention, and then I use so much lube Like I am covered, my whole
Hallelujah.
vulva. I like give her a full vulva massage.
Yeah.
Like a full body massage. And that just wakes everything up. And then it's like the most, if anyone watched me like fly on the wall, they'd be like, really? It's like so slow.
Now I'm really
It'd probably be a turn on for people.
It's like, because all the dildos on Yoni are glass and crystal. for the
They're
most part.
actually really beautiful.
Pretty.
They're so
pretty.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look
This
like
one reminds me of like a long tongue.
And
it
it
does.
is.
So at the moment I'm holding. Is it a Chris? Is this just
This
a
is
glass?
the squirter, isn't it? Is
That's
this-
the squirter,
Yeah.
sacred squirter.
I've got the sacred squirter, and it's just got these ridges on it. It does look like a little bit of a tongue. It's actually stunning. Like they're beautiful looking.
Any
dildos.
ASMR with that one?
I don't. Oh, he actually could.
You've got the nails too.
Can you hear that, guys? It's
Sexy.
beautiful. And I think
But that looks small to me.
Oh,
I'm
you know
just
what?
saying.
That's too big for most people. If
Oh.
the only
Ooh,
feedback
okay.
I
This
get from
one
people is
scares
it's a
me.
little
Oh.
thick.
okay. So
I feel like that might be small for me.
okay. So
We've got a dildo for you.
the
It's called the rocket.
okay.
I think I've seen it.
Now, when it comes to vagina owners, does size matter?
Yes. So I like something quite thick and wide and short. So sacred
Okay.
squirter is my jam, and I love the bumps. Other people do not like the bumps. So we've
Yeah.
got something called the pussy paddle, which is super sleek
paddle.
and smooth. And you know the squirter, that'll take minutes, like a long time for me to just insert in. It's like it's not, you don't just shove it in. It's like a real sensual, mindful experience, and you can feel every bump and every ridge. That's the intention, I think, for resensitizing your vagina to feel, because so many pussies are so numb and
Yeah.
desensitized because it's a friction sex, because of trauma, just disassociation. Like we just haven't been taught to connect. Like even if we did touch our yonis when we were little, often we were like, don't touch that, that's dirty, or
That's
naughty.
right.
Yeah.
And so that sticks. And so you have to re-educate yourself as an adult woman to connect to this part of the body that we've been told to not touch.
Oh my God. My girlfriend has always said to me for a very, very long time, sex was dirty. She, when it came on the TV, when she was sitting with her parents, they all would freak out a little bit, pretend it wasn't on, or her parents would change the channel. And so even as she got older, even in her marriage, she would associate sex with doing something wrong. And it really, really blocked her for years.
I actually did this last week. We were watching The Plan with Jennifer Lopez where she like tries for a baby on her own because she hasn't met the one. Anyway, so she meets a guy and then they're like ripping each other's clothes off on this table, and my daughter was sitting next to me on the couch and I was like, oh, quickly, pause it. And then she goes, Mum, they're not naked. And I was like, oh, they're not. It's a movie.
I think that
It's also
isn't.
so unrealistic the way they have sex
Yeah.
in movies, but still.
But the way she said it too, I was like, oh, okay.
But also, you're not the only one that does that. And
Yeah.
even now, we need to. It ends with us.
Mm.
This is how I'm holding. What is this?
This is the cervix serpent.
That one's a bit scary.
I'm sorry. I'm holding the cervix.
It almost looks like a sperm.
It does.
It does.
She looks like a sperm, but I want
This is
the
the
shame.
3.0.
This is the third.
The 3.0,
generation of this one?
yes. And this is to be able to reach the cervix, because cervixes often are poked and prodded and scraped and rammed and, and they can, I think cervixes have a lot of, in my own experience, sensation and nerve endings, but they're kind of treated like they don't. So
So which end
massaging
So
it.
I'm gonna
which end goes in?
Either way, so the
Okay.
really pointed fine end is for de-armoring. So if you can use that, and that's why it's so long. So you can use one end as a handle and go in and just gently press, kind of like mapping your yoni from 6 to 9, 12, 3 o'clock, and pressing on different segments for 3 to 5 seconds, taking a deep breath in. And then when you release because you can use your finger, you don't need the cervix serpent, but sometimes little fingers and fingernails and stuff is just not hygienic.
I might describe it just for anyone listening and not watching. It is, how long is this?
It's about 23 centimeters.
Yeah, that's long.
It's 23 centimeters long, and just think about all the little cartoon sperms you've ever seen in your life. It looks like a little sperm. It's actually it's also quite pretty, but it's not thick.
No. So it's sleeker. A lot of women.
I feel like I'd whisk my cocktail with that though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could. It's a glass. It's clean.
Too. Yeah. It's borosilic glass. It can go in the dishwasher if you want it to.
Hey, this is the ultimate
handy.
clean toy.
Well, this is like the most, highest grade body safe toy you can get your hands on. That'll last forever.
Yeah.
You can pass this down to your children if you wanted to.
But are they, correct me if I'm wrong, are they smash proof? No. You could still smash it.
These ones are annealed and tempered, which means like they've gone through this extra process when they're making them. So if there's any imperfection, it'll just blow up and we can't. So if you drop it, it shouldn't break, but if you drop it from a high level onto concrete, it probably will.
Because I've had this conversation with friends about your business and they're like, crystal toys, is that dangerous? And I'm like, no.
No.
Does that question get asked
There
a
are
lot?
crystals that you shouldn't put in your pussy for sure.
Okay.
We only sell crystals that are totally safe. I mean, some people think that rose quartz isn't safe. And, I've been using rose quartz in my vagina for 10 years and I'm alive and thriving. So I'm good. I think it's just a matter of just checking it. Like we have a third party as well who check and obviously my staff who check every single crystal
thing that goes out.
So there's no imperfection on the crystal. But if you're worried, and this is why I brought in glass, because sort of 5 years into my business, I thought some people don't want crystal. And crystal's expensive and it's heavy and it is more breakable. So if you do drop it, it will break a lot easier than glass. So then I brought out the glass line of dildos. And they're more affordable, they're lighter weight. They obviously don't hold that sort of vibration if you're into crystals and like the energy. But for me to heal those layers of sexual trauma, I had to use a black obsidian
That was
dildo.
my first egg too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Clears out the bad juju.
Ooh.
All of this.
I know. But then actually, can I go back to the question? I think we were going that way and then we got distracted by these pretty dildos of the shame around sex in general, especially for females. Why we hold it in the first place, I think, can really affect our sex life and our orgasms, and even feeling like we can self-pleasure without guilt. I have spoken to a lot of girlfriends actually, and some just feel awkward. Even talking about this would be awkward, let alone even when they're on their own, they feel awkward to start touching themselves. It almost feels shameful even on their own.
But that comes back to the growing up thing again, isn't it?
Do
you
is.
think? Yeah.
It is. There's layers of cultural upbringing, religion.
Yes.
Religion's big.
Oh my God, yes.
Like, there's stories like people have said, like if they masturbate or touch themselves, they'll go to hell.
Yes,
or they'll,
I heard that.
I don't know, go blind. I've heard so many stories.
Oh my God.
Go blind.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Every guy we know would be bloody blind.
So true. But and then it's like as an adult we get to unpack that and we get to rewire our relationship to our yoni and like our parents were just doing the best job they could and we can't blame them. We need to take it into our own control and our reclaim it. So yeah, gosh.
But I think too, like I've had this conversation with girlfriends before. Some of my friends have been embarrassed to orgasm in front of their partner.
What?
Yeah, because it's like, do they make a weird face or do their eyes roll or like it's maybe not as sexy as what they're picturing in a porn. I'm not sure, but
it's also you're the most vulnerable and exposed and open ever when you are being sexual, especially when you're giving oral or receiving oral. That is as vulnerable as it gets. And like I think a lot of women don't let themselves go or don't let their partner go down on them because of the fear of the smell and the look and the taste. And it's like, no, we really need to re-educate people around this and normalize being vulnerable because that's what it is. It's scary, but
yeah,
you got to have
you have to be vulnerable to let yourself get into that full thing of like letting go.
It ends with us, guys. We can stop this cycle.
Also how like your partner treats you.
Yes.
If your partner doesn't create safety for you to want to open, then it could be a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I've been blessed with many amazing partners, and I've had incredible experiences, except for once or twice. But like if they don't let you, if they're judging you, or like, don't pee on me kind of thing, little comments like that, or
Yeah.
about smell, or they don't go down on you,
Yep.
fucking red flag.
I agree. Or conversations need to be had. At least start communicating how that makes you feel. Because as much as we talk about like females don't know about their bodies, men don't know about female bodies. They haven't been taught either. So
No.
it's just as important.
And also, a lot of women don't want to guide their partner into, hey, move your hand here, move this there. Like, I won't lie, I do it a lot.
yeah,
Like,
I
just
do.
a tiny bit to the left.
I don't think there's anything wrong with
No,
that.
I don't
think it's
either.
so nice. And
Also, I'm not going to waste like an hour. Like, just move a little tiny bit to the
think-
right.
and
then
back
we're
and
good.
forth.
Yeah.
I had to like make Craig tell me what feels good for him.
Yes.
Because I think even for him, as a penis owner, they sort of think that there's only one way for them to orgasm. And I
Yes.
was like, does this feel good? Do you like this? So I started asking, even if it was weird, just popping my head up, hello.
Do you like it side to side or up and down or round and around?
And then he used to say to me, sorry, Craig, it all feels good. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, but does this feel better? Or
Yes.
do you, and that communication, like, it just
And how many people are having those conversations? I can guarantee not a lot.
but it's important.
I think have those conversations with your partner.
People don't like rejection.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So they don't want to hurt feelings, and they don't want to express what they really need in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And I think at the start, you got to really set the tone from the start of the relationship. But also in saying that, it's never too late. All I can say is don't fake your orgasm.
Yes.
And if you are, stop now. Start again.
Okay.
Because
them
then
the
when you
feedback.
do actually orgasm, your partner's going to be like, what the fuck was all the other times?
Yep. I think huge like, let's take that from Rosie today. If you are faking an orgasm, you're going to stop today because you're not doing yourself any favors or your partner or your future partner.
Also, the way you self-pleasure or masturbate is different to the way you have sex. And we need to realize that, just because you masturbate in a certain way doesn't mean that's what you need in sex. Or conversely, maybe you need to incorporate something that you do in self-pleasure in the bedroom, for example, incorporating in a vibrator. And not being shamed for that. There's nothing wrong with that if you need the vibrator. And by the way, like, what is it, 70 or 80% of women can't climax without clitoral stimulation. So if you're having a lot of penis in vagina penetration, and if you're not coming, you need clitoral touch whilst you're getting penetrated. So if you need to rub your clit, I remember getting like judged by this tantric guy I was with who didn't want me to touch my clit during sex to
Were
get
you
off.
like, well, then you need to?
He thought it was not spiritual enough.
oh,
Like clitoral orgasms were, like not like spiritual or glorified, and like,
okay. That question for that, can everyone orgasm internally? Can we all have that in, like I can orgasm clitorally, but I struggle more internally. So is it something everyone is capable of?
I believe so. Yes, I really do. And when you're having a clitoral orgasm, do you notice that your vagina clenches as well?
Yes.
So it's like a blended orgasm when you do have that clitoral, especially when you have something inside you. So if you're not having internal orgasms, maybe you're not having enough internal penetration. You really do need a finger, a dildo, or a penis or something, strap-on in your vagina, rubbing up against the G spot, the A spot, the P spot, the cervix, to wake it up. And like sometimes it's pressure, sometimes it's speed, sometimes it's the tempo, like, sometimes it's going really slow, like slowing the fuck down and building up the pace and that communication piece as well.
But this comes down to like spending time in the bedroom, not wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
I think there's a time and a place for a quickie, isn't there? But it's often not in our best interest to do it all the time. But quality over quantity, Are we like, is that?
I'm going to say that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I recommend couples to have like one time a week where they're going deep, like just even if it's a half an hour or an hour once a week on a Sunday morning or sometime, like, whether it's nighttime or daytime, find when your like power hour is. When you're not distracted, kids
That's
aren't
hard for
there,
us.
lock the doors, whatever you need to do.
We laughed in Bali, remember?
Yeah.
Rose was bent over a bathroom sink.
Because I had the
Door closed, and I think Craig was shutting the door with his leg while yous were having a shower.
yeah, because I hit myself on the tap. I was like,
And at breakfast, we were losing it laughing because I was like, "What did you get up to this morning?" You're like, "Well, I was bent over a bathroom sink."
it was like this guy. Like I was on the tap. I was holding on for dear life. So I was holding on to the two taps and then like the two
Handles.
the handles. Yeah. And then I went forward and he had his foot half on the door because this was a tiny bathroom because we have 4 kids in the room. And he slipped and I've pushed forward and smacked into the tap.
Oh my God.
But so
Sex injuries.
We were cracking up. But it was, so obviously I didn't get off, but the fun and the laughter, it was the connection for me there. It was the connection and we were just cracking up. Like I had a little red mark for ages and then I was like.
saw it at breakfast.
And I was
That's
like,
classic.
yeah. So
I think you need that like closeness once a week, at least once a week. Well, Ash and I have a rule. We don't go 2 weeks without,
Yes.
I call it connecting, sexually connecting. And if you go beyond 2 weeks, that's when it's a slippery slope because then you can go push it out to a month and then you don't have sex for a few months. And then before you know it, it's a year.
Yeah.
And there is so much resentment and so much emotional shit and baggage between you. And it's almost like you desexualize your partner and they become like a friend. And then you don't look at them like a lover anymore and you don't fantasize about them. And you have to want to have sex. And like, listen, I've been going through grief over the past 6 months and I haven't wanted sex very much. But we do still have that rule every 2 weeks we connect in some way.
I think that's really important.
yeah.
I think having that, not a rule, but it's kind of like, something in place that like if we get over the 2 week mark, we need to have a chat
Yeah.
about
because you're
what's
bickering
happening.
more usually.
Yeah.
You're a bit more
Yeah.
snappy at each other. You're not as happy.
So having the
So
conversation.
when I'm not putting out, Davin is a bit angry at me.
But there's something that you can also, it doesn't have to be penis and vagina sex.
Yes.
It could be like, I think it's really important to have like worship sessions where you receive fully and you don't have to give to them. It's just about you fully receiving. Like when a woman can feel like she can just let the fuck go and she knows in her head, okay, after this I'm going to have to like go down on them or whatever. You are just receiving. And if they want to masturbate after, they can, but it's just about you.
Wow.
And then switching turns at another night where it's just about him or it's just about her and you're just giving to them. And
I like that.
because everyone loves being worshipped in some way, but men particularly like a good blowjob. But like giving to him fully, being present is,
With
and
no
then
expectation.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's also a nice way to spice it up. Change things up in the bedroom a bit.
having a massage, Yoni massage.
Dress up as a financial advisor.
Pretend you're back in the corporate job.
Oh, don't remind me.
Yes.